Uh, Hello, my name is Carrie. I'm the recovering feminist, and I'm delighted that you have chosen to join me today. I'm here because I believe that we women have been bamboozled, hoodwinked, lied to about the hoax of feminism. And it is my hope that we women can wake up, speak out, and be heard about the truth. Now, this nation of America has really seriously gone adrift. At the heart of our social problems is the breakdown of the family. And I believe that we women have incredible power to do our part to solve the problem of the breakdown of the family and help right this ship of America. My story begins with attending a liberal arts college in the state of New York, upstate New York, and I was the first class to take women's studies. And I thought I was so cutting edge. My professor was the coolest woman I had ever met. She helped me understand the truth about what it meant to be a woman. And I remember after the course was over, I wanted to do my part to go out and transform society, even though I had no idea what that meant. But I remember being so inspired by posters like a woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle. Women's studies. You can major now in women's studies in over 700 universities throughout the United States and in 40 countries throughout the world. What is women's studies? Well, it's an academic field. It uses interdisciplinary methods in order to place women's lives and experiences at the center. A recent definition says that in this field, people study systems of privilege and oppression and the relationships between power and gender. We have the privileged class versus the oppressed class. We have the victimizers versus the victims. Young women who major in women's studies will be taught that literary classics written mostly by straight, white, cisgender males, they are mistakenly assuming that their experiences can be universal. The feminist professors will teach them that they can't possibly be universal because men are the oppressors. Women authors, black authors, gay authors, well, they've been put in the category of other. They've been marginalized and oppressed. Today, books that are considered super sexist by feminists are books such as The Awakening by Kate Chopin, Little Women, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, The Scarlet Letter. The list goes on and on. There's one feminist professor who lectured at one university that we should not look to Macbeth for universal truth. The witches are the true heroines in Macbeth. How do we get to this point? I'm sure many of these women believe they are enlightened and are doing their best to live out their commitment, just like I believed when I attended school. But I'm here to tell you these views have nothing to do with the betterment of women. They have everything to do with a successful indoctrination of young minds into cultural Marxism. Okay, to really understand this, we have to look at Marxism before and after World War I. Before World War I, Marxist theory held that if war broke out in Europe, the working classes would rise against the bourgeoisie and create a communist revolution. When war broke out in 1914, instead of starting a revolution, the proletariat put on their uniforms and went off to war and were slaughtered. After the war ended, Marxist theorists were left asking what went wrong. It seemed as if Marxism had failed. And then came a change in strategy, a sleight of hand, if you will. Economic Marxism morphed into cultural Marxism. I'd like to talk about Georg Lukács. There are many thinkers, there are many philosophers, many powerful writers of cultural Marxism. Georg Lukács was a Hungarian, actually, who was a philosopher, a historian, and a critic. He concluded that the working class of Europe had been blinded by the success of Western democracy and capitalism. Until both were destroyed, a communist revolution was not possible. In 1918, Lukács became Minister of Culture in Bolshevik Hungary. Lukács believed that if the family unit and sexual morals were eroded, society could be broken down and then the proletariat could seize power. He began instituting a plan when he was culture minister in Hungary. He began instituting a plan to remove children from parental care while also introducing sex education in the elementary school curriculum. Graphic sexual matter was presented to children, and they were taught to experiment sexually with themselves and with others. Well, this failed to take hold in Hungary. Parents were outraged, and Lukács's program dissipated, and he fled Hungary when Romania invaded in 1919. Fast forward 3 years, 1922, a Marxist study week is held in Frankfurt, Germany. Lukács attends. He meets a wealthy Marxist named Felix Weil. Up until that point, classical Marxist theory was based on the belief that economic changes were needed to bring about social revolution. Lukács brought a new paradigm, a new approach. He said that breaking down sexual mores and promoting promiscuity, one-parent households, premarital sex, and homosexuality was needed to bring about the cultural revolution. This approach, Lukács said, would strike at the heart of the core values of family and childbearing, which were at that time the mainstays of Western society. Weil was enthused by Lukács's cultural angle on Marxism. Weil's interest led him to fund a new Marxist think tank called the Institute for Social Research, which would become the Frankfurt School. Now, this new school, began mixing the ideas of Sigmund Freud together with Marxism. Voila, cultural Marxism was born. As I said earlier, classical Marxism, the workers of the world were oppressed by the ruling class. But now with this new theory, it said that everyone in society was psychologically oppressed by the institutions of Western culture. 1933 in Germany was a bad place to be and a bad time to be for a Marxist Jew. Most of the school's faculty were Jewish Marxists. So the school moved to New York City, the bastion of Western culture at the time. In 1934, the Frankfurt School was reborn at Columbia University. Its mentors began to exert their ideas on American culture through the printed word. The school published a lot of popular material. One of the most popular was critical theory, which is still very much practiced today. This theory is actually very simple. Basically, it's critical of every pillar of Western culture, critical of the family, critical of democracy, critical of common law, critical of gender differences. The hope was that these pillars would crumble under the pressure. And the Frankfurt School members got a lot of support from America. John Dewey, the father of modern education in the United States, he, along with financing from the Rockefeller Foundation and other institutions, he brought many of the standout members of the Frankfurt School to top universities such as University of California at Berkeley, Princeton University, Brandeis University, and of course the most prestigious, which I've already talked about, was Columbia University, in particular the well-known Teachers College. Philosophers such as Herbert Marcuse also made a great impact. His book, Eros and Civilization, was enormously popular among college students. Remember the phrase, make love, not war, in the 60s? That was begun by Herbert Marcuse of the Frankfurt School, glorifying pornography, challenging all of the social norms of society. The critique of the Frankfurt School, which now had successfully infiltrated academia, was that history and reality were shaped by males of European descent. In other words, gender did not exist in reality, but was merely a social construct. And the Frankfurt School's ideals caught on like wildfire across American universities. Interesting that one of the overarching themes of the Frankfurt School was total intolerance for any viewpoint but its own. The fruit of this, of course, is today's political correctness. So where does feminism fit in with all of this? Well, the promotion of feminism was a major contributing factor in the breakdown of society. Now, except for first wave feminism, which actually really even wasn't called feminism, it was about the right to vote. These women were pro-family. Most of them were Christian. They were anti-abortion. But I would say except for this first wave, second wave, third wave, and even now some say the fourth wave is decidedly all of those things, which I just said, anti-marriage, anti-family, anti-male. I think that Lukács and his colleagues would be very pleased at the progress that their ideas have made in breaking down what was once a predominantly Judeo-Christian culture. Frankfurt School lives on today. Feminists are promoting a false dichotomy of the oppressed and the oppressor. Academia, popular media would have you believe that women's history has been one long tale of exploitation and denigration. Feminists believe that all men have oppressed all women. Well, I'm here to tell you this is just not true. The fake paradigm was created by Marxists. And you know what? An awakening is happening. And I want this video to be part of that awakening. A new renaissance has begun. There is a growing refusal to be called a feminist, to be called a victim. I'm so inspired by videos that I see of women such as Rebecca, the blonde in the belly of the beast, and of course the outstanding Candace Owens, who refuses to be a victim, to be called a victim as either a woman or as a black person. I believe that as people are waking up, there is a return to faith, to family, to freedom. I hope you've gotten something of value by understanding the roots of feminism are not in women, they're actually in Marxism. So until next time, this is the Recovering Feminist saying thank you for joining me, and see you next time.